Hello and welcome everyone. My name is The Clever Fool. Today we'll be playing Fetih, 1453. Pretty much the opposite perspective from Constantine the 11th, which we just did last episode. We have an achievement that we're going for, where we need to do this pretty quickly. Let's go ahead and get started.
When Mehmed became Sultan, it was said that the courts of Christian Europe celebrated. And why would they not? The 21-year-old had shown no indications that he could live up to his illustrious predecessors. These forefathers had conquered their way from Anatolia to the Balkans, leaving only Constantinople resolutely defying their might. But Mehmed was not like his forefathers. They were strong and capable, while he enjoyed pleasure and frivolity. His father, Murad, had even attempted to force maturity onto his young heir by abdicating and giving him the reins of power. Mehmed promptly asked his father to return. But when Murad died, Mehmed was forced to become Sultan. Mehmed knew he had many doubters. He had to prove his worth, and he chose the biggest prize of all. He chose to conquer the unconquerable. Constantinople, the red apple of the world.
Red apples aren't even that yummy, man. Main objectives. Capture the Hagia Sophia before the 1st of June, 1453. Now, of course, we're going for the achievement, so we need to do it before 15th May of 1453. And to also kill Constantine the 11th. We have a secondary objective to lose fewer than 500 units. Wondering if we suffer some kind of penalty if we fail this objective. Ardents tell us that we have a population limit of 500 and begin with all technologies researched. Use your abundant resources to quickly establish your bases and begin gathering from the land. Ottoman quartermasters have set up supply routes by land and sea in the east and west. Use trade carts and trade cogs to trade with the quartermasters and supplement your economy. Constantinople's defenses are layered. Once you have breached the walls, make sure you have enough strength to exploit and sustain your attack. If you do not, you may invite enemy attacks onto your own camp. The Ottoman fleets are nearby, awaiting Mehmed's command. Establishing your navy in the northwest will allow you to circumvent the enemy seawall. You have less time to complete your objectives on higher difficulty levels. Your scouts report the Ottoman army, like its territory, is split on both sides of the Bosporus, with the city of Constantinople in between. Mehmed must build up his land and naval forces to storm the city before the arrival of relieving Western forces. Constantinople, in purple, is a shadow of its former self, but it remains the grand apple of the world that draws the heart of a conqueror. It is protected by sea on 3 sides and the mighty Theodosian walls on the landward side. It is defended by the Roman army in blue and a smaller collection of Westerners in red who heeded the Roman emperor's pleas for assistance. There are several key landmarks in the city. The northern portion of the outer walls contains the Blachernae Palace. It lacks the double layer of defenses seen elsewhere along the perimeter. Inside the city, Constantine's walls provide another layer of defense. In the north is the Italian quarter with a harbor overlooking the Golden Horn, quiet seas facing neutral Galata in yellow. The Horn is protected from the east by a great sea chain. Additional harbors lie on the southern side of the peninsula. The core of the city stands on the tip of the peninsula, protected by one last layer of defenses. This section contains the Hagia Sophia, the target of Mehmed's conquest. Go.
Hazır. Usta.
Evet. One day
Usta.
Constantinople
Usta.
will be conquered.
Usta.
Great is the commander who will
Usta.
conquer it. Great are his soldiers. That
Usta.
day is upon us.
Evet. Tamam.
Right,
Yaparım.
just letting the narrator do his thing.
Efendim. Evet.
Right away,
Tamam.
we are building
Evet.
a bunch of
İleri.
PCs. 3 at home, 2
Yaparım.
on the west
Tamam.
side.
Evet. Yaparım.
The east side of the island, or
Tamam.
the east side of the map is an
Hazır.
island that you're
Evet.
isolated
Yaparım.
on, so you'll be safe there.
Emrin
You'll be safe on the
doğru.
west side too. They won't come
Usta.
out and attack
Efendim?
unless you majorly screw up.
Evet. Usta.
Yaparım.
I'm also picking up the fleet.
Yaparım.
This is one
Yaparım.
of 2 fleets that are available on the map. This fleet is going to go right to work, taking care of a fortified tower that is out on the water here. You don't need to wait for cannon galleon. You can just use your starting fleet to knock out the fortified tower with minimal casualties.
Evet.
But our first, 3 of the first few villagers are on
Doğru.
stone there, so I can
Tamam,
keep building
tamam.
town centers without needing
Evet.
to get a market online. And then others are coming out onto
Usta,
food
usta,
here.
usta.
I built some housing here as well as a dock in the southern part.
Oduncu.
The first unit out of that dock is going to be a Cannonballing so that you can start shelling the defenses on the east side. After that, I'm going to start sending some boats to the south.
Oduncu.
Those boats are going to pick up the second fleet as well as reinforce the second fleet for something that will happen in a little bit, which is a bunch of ships spawning in, transport ships and galleons from the Westerners. We'll try to reinforce the city. By parking my ships at their spawn point, I can do a lot of damage to them as they come out. If you have enough fire ships in the vicinity, then you don't need to micro too hard and you'll be able to win right away. Lots of my early villagers are coming out on food. The two monks that I started off with here are also doing good work. One of them converted a lumber camp, and now they're converting villagers who are going straight to wood, supplementing the early wood income. There's a lot of things to spend wood on in the early game, so it's good to get as many wood choppers as you can. You might think it doesn't make a difference since you can build so many TCs. It absolutely makes a difference. Having that extra wood feels really nice. Okay, I'm building a galleon to send to the south, pick up the next fleet.
Emrin.
Trying to make sure I maintain town center production.
Hazır ol. Evet. Emret. Tamam. Hazır yaparım. Tamam.
Evet. Doğru. Hazır.
We're going to also build another town center in the west side near those barriers and that stone.
Efendim? Usta. Evet.
Something important in this level is to get as much stone as you can, both for town centers, but also for a few castles. The way that I approach this is that I'm going to build some castles and build a bunch of janissaries out of them. And I'm going to use janissaries to pretty much two-shot Constantine. And in order to get a good mass of janissaries up in a timely fashion, I need a lot of castles, 2 to 3 ideally. Here we are picking up the fleet. This is one of those missions where resources is not a huge problem. Neither is getting directly attacked by your enemy. It's attention that is being tested here. This is definitely one of the more micro-intensive scenarios, and in order to win at all, I don't think you can do this without having some sort of strategy. It would be pretty tough to do it on a first try, to get the achievement, that is, on a first try here. You might still be able to manage it first try on hard if you're really good, and able to make decisions on the fly, but it'll be tough otherwise. I'm rearranging my fleet a little bit so they're not directly on the edge of the map. I want to position such that they are close to where the ships spawn, so the fire ships get advantage here. This whole time I'm making sure that my dock building villager is building more housing so that we never get housed. Getting housed here would be a major hassle. And I'm sending some villagers up to a transport to see where they go in a little bit.
Tamam. Emrin. Tamam.
Okay.
Emrin.
Trying to avoid having to get to farms for as long as possible. There's lots of berry bushes on this map. There's one in the west, one in the northwest, a bunch near your base. So you want to gather all that natural food for resorting to farms. You will eventually need to resort to farms, but early on you need to use the wood for other things, so leverage that natural food. Putting a town center on that central gold pile should be safe. Not overbuilding docks here. Only need the dock early if I'm planning on producing out of it, which I am not. Here I am just transitioning some of the villagers onto farms here. As for stone piles, there's a stone pile in the west where my TC is on. There's a single tile of stone on your home base. There's also 2 tiles of stone in the southwest, which we'll pick up soon. There is also a couple tiles where my soldiers there are in the north side of the map near where Constantine is. 2 tiles there. And then across the water, where my villagers are headed towards right now, is another few tiles. Grabbing all the stone so that I can build my castles.
Efendim, evet.
Now, granted, I could buy it at the market, so it's not too much of a
Romans
big
have
deal.
blocked the Golden Harbor.
Yaparım.
I can build my fleet behind their defenses.
Evet. Usta, usta, usta.
Okay, and at Med's suggestion, I'm going to be building docks. Now, this whole time, my singular cannon galleon that came out at the start has been shelling enemy shoreline defenses, as you can see here. You need to shell the towers, the production buildings,
Usta.
as well as the walls enough so that there's
Emre.
a gap for landing.
Tamam mı?
There's a
Yaparım.
castle,
Tamam.
at least 2 monasteries, a barracks, a
Usta.
stable, a siege workshop, an archery range, all sorts of stuff that you'd like to destroy.
Efendim, emrin.
I'm also keeping a reasonable number of fire ships in the queue and sending them across the water so that I have a stronger
Hazır.
intercepting navy
Usta.
for when the Westerners show up. They show up at around the 13-minute mark in game. So I've got maybe a minute and 30 seconds left.
Doğru. Evet. Tamam.
This whole time, I'm still churning out
Yaparım.
villagers. I have 120 villagers, but remember, we have a ludicrously high population
Usta.
cap, so aside from attention, there's no real reason to stop booming here. Just doing a final reposition of my ships so that they're in good position to
Efendim.
intercept.
Emrin.
Yaparım. Madenci.
And I'm building cannon galleons now in the north. These cannon galleons are going to be very vital. They're going to knock down a wall piece, but not the gate piece, so that the
Hazır.
Hazır.
Oduncu.
defensive AI does not get triggered. That is
Evet.
very critical. You
Usta,
do not
usta,
want to knock
usta,
down any
usta,
gates.
usta.
The
You want to knock
Westerners
down
are
the wall.
attempting to bring reinforcements into the city. Sink their ships.
Here I just take some moments to focus down the transport ships, but we have enough of a navy here that
Hazır. Efendim?
as the ships
Usta,
come out,
usta,
we're
usta,
essentially just
usta.
leading them. It's giving us a major advantage there. As I was saying before we were rudely interrupted, these cannon galleons up north are going to destroy the castle and open up a wall piece
Emrin.
and not the
Usta.
gate piece. Because of this, what will
Hazır.
end up happening is the only units that
Usta.
come to Constantine's
Hazır.
defense are the ones that are stationed in the
Usta,
area, as
usta,
opposed
usta,
to
usta.
all the
Evet.
units in the entire base.
Usta.
This will also help
Usta.
us when we capture the
Efendim?
Hagia
Usta.
Sophia as well. So it's absolutely critical that you do this.
Evet. Usta, usta, usta, usta.
Setting up some archery ranges. But
Hazır.
Seis.
the main bulk of the force here is going to be
Yaparım usta.
Janissaries.
Emrin. Seis.
Cavalry archers are fast and they can get some decent shots out on Constantine if needed, but they only do 1 damage a pop. So unless you have a very nice force to body block him and keep him in place while your archers shoot him, it might be kind of tough. I've seen other users use cavalry and cavalry archers to great success. I use Janissaries because 2 volleys with enough of a mass is enough to kill Constantine.
Hazır.
Usta, usta, usta, usta. Efendim.
Doğru.
Okay, meanwhile at home, I am building a siege tower, just in case I need to do any siege tower stuff with my Royal Janissaries. I'm also training heavy cavalry archers and hussars there, so that I have a solid line force. Meanwhile, it's important to continually shell the enemy base here. One tricky aspect of the scenario is balancing your 2-pronged attack. You don't want to overcommit your attention to one and neglect the other.
Usta.
It's going to be very tough, but after a few attempts, you'll find the right balance. So as you can see here, I've got a bunch of castles now. I've got one castle online, another one on its way.
Usta, usta, usta, usta.
And out of the castle that's already built, I'm training Janissaries. There's Constantine. Something to note is if you're using this strategy, to be careful of hitting Constantine with your cannon galleons. Constantine will run away if he falls under half HP. He'll run to the center castle. If he does this, it's pretty much impossible to win
Efendim. Emrin.
in time to
Madenci.
get the achievement.
Hazır.
So just do be careful that you don't let your cannon
Hazır.
galleons accidentally deal a big chunk of damage to him.
Usta,
I've lost a
usta,
couple of runs
usta,
on
hazır.
for this exact reason.
Usta.
I had 6 cannon galleons and they all decided to hit him, and the
Evet.
mad lad took 6 cannon shots, or some number of cannon shots to the face.
Hazır.
Fell down to maybe around half HP and then retreated while I wasn't even on screen, so just do make a note of that. But now my cannon aliens are able to shell the opposite shore with no issue. We're not allowed to build trebuchets, so they're not even an option. It's to encourage us to use cannons, which thematically makes sense. Right, using shift click here is also good if you're disciplined about not retasking the units that you shift clicked, excuse me. We need to open up a western hole, or a hole on the coast there,
Efendim. Usta.
for our units to land on later. This whole time I'm also trying to keep up a solid Galian mass. The enemy does have a non-zero navy that they will send to you occasionally. I do think that because I don't go for the aggro AI by doing the wall piece tricks,
Evet.
I don't feel the full brunt of the navy.
Usta.
But even so, it's good to have a good number of ships on the water so that your crossing is defended.
Tamam.
Notice too that I didn't bother setting up trade.
Evet.
It's not the most effective source of gold. The mission will be over before the prices bottom out, and there is a lot of gold to mine on the map, so no need to set up trade, in my opinion. Alright, so again, in the north, building up Janissaries, Hussars, and heavy cavalry archers, while shelling the buildings with cannon aliens.
Hazır. Usta. Usta.
In the east, keeping up pressure with my cannon Galians and Galians, as well as building a transport force of Hussars and cavalry archers. The Royal Janissaries at the start are pretty strong, so do remember to take those guys with you when you perform your attack. And now we're at the May 3rd mark. Again, I might have mentioned this before, but I think on hard difficulty, each day is around 40 seconds. So, if you can get your attack started in earnest before May 1st, you'll be in very good shape. Now I'm just doing some baiting with the heavy cavalry archers I've got. Yeah, he's not strongly pursuing me, so this area is already almost completely cleared. Constantine's just sitting there all by his lonesome. And the important thing here is to realize that Constantine has 590 health and something to the effect of 13 pierce armor and maybe even more melee armor. So these heavy cavalry archers are only doing 1 damage apiece. The Janissaries, however, will fare much better. But because he runs when he's at low health, what I'm doing is I'm setting up a body block with my Janissaries before taking the first shot so that he doesn't have a free path out. And just like that, by May 6th, Constantine has been eliminated. Now that that's happened, I essentially can ignore the west side. Doesn't matter if I lose the entire west side of the map. The main part here now is to ensure that my landing goes through nicely. But again, because we did the wall trick, the enemy AI is not super aggro. So even a moderately sized force should be able to capture the Hagia Sophia. Just moving my ships away so they don't accidentally knock down the gate. And here I am using my Galians to take out some static defenses as always, and also to open up a hole in the back wall in the eastern side to get access to the Hagia Sophia. Yeah, so it's May 8th. I'm getting a little antsy in terms of time. So what I've got here is what I've got. My plan here is to use one force to kite the enemy. I'm making a save just in case. I literally named it just in case. Use one force to kite the enemy units away,
I see the
and then
red
use
apple
another
of
force
man's
to
design.
storm
One
the
more
Hagia
push
Sophia.
for greatness!
so that we get control of the island.
Fight on! Into the heart of the city!
Hazır ol. Saldır. Allah Allah. Yaparım. Evet. Tamam. Saldır. Yaparım.
The red apple is mine!
Okay. There we go.
Okay.
Very nice.
I spent all
Thanks,
day trying to get this.
thanks to
Hazır.
multiple users on this server for
Yaparım.
giving me some
Hazır.
good tips and ideas. And I'll
Usta.
credit you guys.
Usta. Efendim? Tamam. Usta.
Man, does it feel good. I will save one more time. And get the player base there.
Mehmed granted his soldiers 3 days to plunder the city. On the third day, he ordered the call to prayer to be sounded from the pulpit of the Hagia Sophia. Across the courts and churches of Europe, people shuddered at Mehmed's name. But in the Muslim world, his victory was celebrated. Fetih, they called him, the conqueror. No one would ever doubt Mehmed again.
Well, that was anticlimactic. A couple sentences, but I spent so much time trying to beat this. It is tough, but if you have a strategy, it's just a matter of execution. So I think we had I think on hard mode, each one of these is 40 seconds or something like that. So maybe we had like a minute or so. This mission comes down to pretty much a puzzle game. I'll talk about it in a post-commentary. For now, we'll just bask in the dub. This took me all day, man. Alright. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name's Clever Fool. I'll see you all in the next one, man.